Hello, namaskaram, namaskar. Welcome to my class. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. In this class, we shall discuss the significance of the meeting that is going to take place between the dictator of North Korea and the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. Kim Jong Un has finally reached Russia. And what is going to happen next, we are going to speculate. Let's talk about it from the perspective of DS Mains Paper Second, the changing geopolitical landscape. Do not worry about note making because I provide the notes through my Telegram channel that is by the name of Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. If you have any queries regarding this examination, you can talk to me on my Instagram as well. P2I batches have already been launched from 11th of September. Please take admission as soon as possible because we are going to close our batches. Not only GS for prelims, mains and interviews, but also CSAT, essay, ethics, language papers, everything is included along with study material and live classes. These are morning live classes. Other than this, you will also get StudyIQ Campus program. That means if you're able to qualify UPSC Prelims 2024, you will be called to the StudyIQ Campus to prepare there for the mains examination free of any extra cost. Everything will be provided to you there. Now, use the code PDLive so that you can get this particular batch at 29,999. For other courses as well, you can use PDLive. Now, let's move ahead. Finally, the dictator of North Korea, Kim Jong Un, has reached Russia. He has chosen, very importantly, we have to talk about a train. This train is heavily armored, very swanky, and also painfully slow because of the weight. We will talk about the train also because North Korea has a very small border with Russia, as you can see over here. So, preferred mode of transport was train. But the many Kims of North Korea, they have used this particular train, olive green train, which is very guarded. It's like a moving fortress and very mysterious. So let's talk about it. Since 2011, when Kim Jong Un has come into power after the death of his father, he used this train only to travel abroad. It consists of about 21 carriages, and this tradition was started by his grandfather during the Korean War. And the father, he boosted this further. But Kim Jong Un once has used a Boeing 747 operated by Air China in 2018 when he went for a high-profile diplomatic summit with the then US President Donald Trump. And a 2009 South Korean news report said that there were about 90 armored high-security carriages at the leader's disposal. That means this train is like a moving fortress. Whatever we know about this train is through intelligence officers. It has, it is very classy. It is cozy and classy. It consists of various, the things that are given over there. It's more comforting than the president of Russia. Satellite phones. It has different sorts of cuisines, different sorts of wines. So the dictator likes to travel in style. That is his style. As each of the carriages was bulletproof, they were thousands of pounds heavier than average, and the top speed is just 59.5 km per hour because of the weight of it. According to a 2009 report, 100 security officers traveled in the advanced train because it consists of many officials that are traveling with Kim Jong Un and searching stations for bombs and other threats and also testing the safety of the track. Military helicopters and planes would also fly overhead so that added security could be given. The train also carried 2 armored Mercedes to carry Kim to and from the train. So it's highly secured in nature. Now, what is the reason of the meeting? Simplest reason is that Russia needs weapons. North Korea has a lot of it. North Korea needs money in return because of the sanctions that have been imposed by UN, US, different countries such as Japan, Australia, South Korea. So it is reeling under pressure of sanctions. What does it need the most? It needs money, North Korea. And Russia in return needs weapons, which North Korea has a lot. So there is a possibility of the North Korea providing Moscow with weapons to support its war in Ukraine. The USA is calling it that now Russia is begging from North Korea, countries such as North Korea. Moscow desperately needs weapons, specifically ammunition and artillery shells, and Pyongyang has plenty of that. That is the capital of North Korea. What does North Korea want? At the Hanoi Summit, it was seen that maybe some kind of agreement would be reached at between the US and North Korea so that sanctions could be relieved. And it did not happen. So the Hanoi Summit was without any agreement or progress on North Korea's nuclear program. It was hoping for a compromise. Although the US did suspend certain high-profile military exercises that it had with South Korea, but still a full-fledged agreement couldn't be reached. And that is why it is now just like one or the other option that North Korea has, either to join one bloc or to still remain on its own ground and keep on aggrandizing itself with nuclear weapons. What does Russia want? A meeting with Kim Jong Un is going to send a message to the US that it is relying on certain allies such as China and North Korea. So it is moving with its old ideology, how to befriend the enemy's enemy. It's like that. Like the US and China, Russia is very uncomfortable with North Korea being a nuclear power. And North Korea is believed to be an unreliable state by Russia also. But in the early 2000s, Russia was a part of the ill-fated six-party talks after Pyongyang withdrew from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It was earlier a part of it. Moscow wants to accept the status quo that, okay, North Korea has nuclear weapons, I do not mind it. But also, I'm not comfortable with it possessing, it being my neighbor and possessing nuclear weapons. It's an unreliable state. But still, it is coming in terms with that. So, the Soviet Union basically was a major ally of North Korea. And economic cooperation, cultural exchanges, and aid used to occur between them. But when the Iron Curtain, it collapsed, it weakened the ideological ties that it had with North Korea. So there is now no reason for special treatment of North Korea. And as a regular trading partner, North Korea was not very attractive because it does not have a very open market for Russian goods. So Russia's gradual estrangement that occurred from the West in the 2000s and later on after the annexation of Crimea, what happened that more sanctions were put on Russia. So Russia started getting the backing of certain countries such as North Korea and China, and it is based on the old logic that my enemy's enemy is my friend. And the last North Korea-Russia bilateral meeting was in 2011 between the then President of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, and when he met Mr. Kim's father, Kim Jong. And it is important for us to, Kim Jong Un, and it is important for us to know about certain background, then only we can move forward. See, some 8,000 North Koreans are already working in Russia, but these are, estimates. But the actual numbers would be higher. But they would have to return back to North Korea. Why? Because of the sanctions. So, what have the sanctions been for North Korea? North Korea has been sanctioned. It has been reeling under economic pressure because of its romanticization of nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. Other things for which it has been sanctioned is cyber attacks, money laundering, and human rights violation as well. US, because why does it want to pursue its nuclear goals? It says that US has so many bases here, so I do not feel secure enough. Also, the war games that United States conducts with its allies near my waters, this is also one of the reasons I do not want to let go of my nuclear weapons. So the DPRK ratified the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1985. That means it signed it and made a legislation that we are not going to have any sort of nuclear weapons. But it withdrew in 2003. Why? Because it said that there is US aggression here. The first nuclear test was done 3 years later after it. Now that was because many countries fell after they let go of nuclear weapons. Ukraine, Iraq, Libya, they were overthrown by different governments because they let go of their nuclear weapons. So North Korea doesn't want to meet the same fate. United States suspended a series of high-profile military level exercises with South Korea, but nothing fruitful could be achieved. Now, as you can see, there are lot many sanctions. In 2005, UN Security Council Resolution 1718 condemned North Korea's first nuclear test. After that, another resolution, second nuclear explosion. For this also, North Korea was sanctioned. Then satellite launches and other sorts of ballistic activities were also sanctioned. After that, other sanctions after sanctions were imposed. And that created a lot of fallout of the economy. Majorly, we see the people are suffering. The dictator does not care at all. So does sanction really work? I do not think so, because it has not been able to, be in check. The nuclear exercises as in nuclear aggrandizement as well as the other sort of activities with respect to launching new missiles one day or the other, it has increased because the national government of North Korea in itself doesn't want to accept being under sanctions. So you see that China and Russia have helped North Korea, showing that they are forming another bloc. China and Russia veto a US drafted resolution that would have imposed more sanctions, including bans on tobacco and oil imports into North Korea, and that was done in 2022. So majorly we are seeing that a new bloc is occurring. Sanctions are not helping, but they are actually cornering this country more and more so that it can make itself more powerful. If not economically, then of course arm-wise. So what are the sanctions by the UN? Generally the sanctions are to ban the trade of arms and military equipment, dual-use technology, vehicles, industrial machinery and metals, ban the import of certain luxury goods, freeze the asset of individuals who are involved in the country's nuclear program, ban the export of electrical equipment, coal, minerals, seafood and other food and agricultural products, textiles and stones, cap North Korean labor exports. That is why the people who are working in Russia, they will have to go back. Cap imports of oil and refined petroleum products, ban natural gas imports, restrict fishing rights, restrict scientific and technical cooperation with N Korea, prohibit UN members from opening North Korean bank accounts and banking offices. However, humanitarian assistance is not having any sort of sanction. But the US also did it. The US also put some sanctions in 2016. This was a sanction involved that sanction anyone who is involved in activities such as proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Then through CAATSA, which is also applicable to countries such as Iran and Russia. Through CAATSA, it imposed other sanctions on North Korea. Then it was during the Trump administration when Trump asked the Treasury Department to block from the US financial system any foreign business or individual that facilitate trade with North Korea. So this was all done strategically to economically squish North Korea under the feet. And in 2022, President Biden imposed sanctions on 8 North Korean and Russian entities for their involvement in the nuclear program of North Korea. So you see that sanctions, do they work? I have a graph to show you. They have not worked. They have although weakened the economy, the people are living in a dire crisis. We do not get to know a lot of information about that, but it's really horrible living in North Korea. People suffer, but the dictators are not suffering. See, as you see how during the and after the time of sanctions, one or the other, the nuclear tests and other sort of tests have increased. So, what do these two countries want eventually? North Korea knows that a lot might not be achieved, but it can get certain international recognition that Russia is seeing us as an ally during this war, so it can have certain leverage in the future if it wants to have any sorts with the US. It wants to show that if you want to talk to me, if you can talk to me, please do so because I have certain influence over Russia. It is primarily, although interested in money, that it needs the most. Russia, there is an overwhelming sense there that it is an unstable and unreliable country, so we are not going to invest a lot of money in it. So we have to see what kind of deal is reached at. And not a lot is going to be achieved when it comes to agreement wise because North Korea is much weaker than Russia in many terms. But still, it is important for us to see how USA reacts in the future. Now, I would like to also suggest that whoever has not enrolled in any of the batches and are interested in UPSC 2025, take admission in our long-term batch. Similar features of the P2I. Everything the same, but you will get more time to relax and prepare. Both the things can be done at once. And this starts from 16th of September, and these are evening batches from 6 p.m. onwards. And this costs just rupees 35,999 if you use the code PDLIVE. It is available in English and Hindi, whichever batch suits you the best. Okay. So thank you so much for watching and stay updated.